What is up, everybody? Welcome to NFTs in the Arena. You're with your hosts, Mike and John. John, what's up today? How you doing?
What's up? What's up? I'm brilliant, eh? How's everybody?
Good, good, good. Everybody, before we get into it, the usual, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are growing week on week. The content is getting more relevant, more interesting, and actually more humorous, I would say, as John and I find our feet in this new world. But John, not actually before, actually, what I wanted to get into straight away is, and I think a lot of people that would be watching this or that are interested in NFTs and that particularly know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. Gary Vee, a successful entrepreneur, mindful leader, just an all-round Renaissance man. I would say is the best way to describe him. But he is very involved in this Web3 world and very involved in, I suppose, before NFTs, the actual collectible cards, the actual baseball cards, the sport cards, and so on. And obviously, now that has become a non-fungible token that is seen as an NFT, and those digital collectibles now have a lot more utility behind them than the original collector's cards. And he's just been very much in that space, and I think he had been talking about NFTs for a long time before. So by virtue of having filmed videos on YouTube and on his podcast a few years ago talking about NFTs, obviously now people look back and say, well, this guy's been following this thing for 3 years or 4 years. He must know a lot about it, so we should follow him. And why I bring that up is because, and we can dive deeper into this, is that Gary Vee created his own V Friends NFTs, and it's an NFT collection, a community more so than NFTs that I would imagine will have a great future. But as of now, their launch, which was supposed to be a few days ago, evidently failed in the terms of launching, and there's various reasons as to why it didn't actually succeed. But one of the things he says in an interview is that he himself takes the blame, and he himself feels like he didn't tie enough of the knots before going live with the actual entity that was going to be partnering with him to do this NFT launch. So there's various things I want to dissect there, but the first thing I want to actually talk about, John, is that NFT's been a new thing. Everyone thinks that they know what they're talking about because there's not enough evidence out there to actually prove this person wrong. So what I would say to you, or what I would ask you, is that Gary Vee 4 or 5 years ago is talking about NFTs. He's seen the value in it. A lot of people have extracted the value of it. But now he goes out with his own collection and it fails. But I do think it will become successful. But what do you think that is the perception it's giving off to people that are involved in this community and in the outside world, whether you care or not?
Well, look, he may have created a little bit of discomfort with people that aren't a loyal advocate of Gary Vee. So there might be thousands that are quite pissed off by this, but I do believe this is a space that's still unraveling. There's still a lot of discovery to be made. It's predicated on engineering, software engineering. So there are going to be humps, and even with as should I say, competent as Gary may be, he is going to find himself in a very vulnerable position in the space. And it's going to take time to build up, and it's going to take a lot of trials and tribulations to overcome. And he's going to want that from his community. Well, he's not going to want it, or should I say, not expect it, but this kind of taking ownership of this mistake, or it might not even be a mistake, is what's going to prove to the community that he's a loyal leader. And this is what's going to sustain them and keep them on board for future endeavors. So that's how I see it.
It's interesting that you're saying that, because he is opening himself up to criticism, which he's
Yes.
no person to a damn about, for sure. Of all people, definitely not. But I think it may deter potential investors, which I don't think he's just got this thing about him that people believe in and they trust him, because a lot of things he has envisioned, or a lot of things that he believed would come to the fore, have. But a lot of
mm,
things that he has potential in the past is probably not. But my point is that he has quite a good track record behind him, particularly when it comes to technology, people behavior, human behavior, more so trends and value beyond what people see by face value, I would say. So I was reading an article the other day. It was by this author. Her name was Chantal Glenville, or something like that.
mm,
She's the author of these books like Travel for Your Life, What Your Clients Really Want, and all this crap, right? And she was
mm,
like kind of criticizing him, not really for this NFT thing, but more so about how obviously he's become incredibly popular on social media. And this is how
mm,
people find out about him. He has authored his own books, and a lot of his what's the word I would use? The way he goes about himself and the way he goes about business and the way he goes about work and people. It's very controversial in some people's eyes, but he has a lot more support than he has enemies, I would imagine, because he says things how they are. And I think there's no one more respected in this whole Web3 space than him because
mm,
of what he's done, what he's saying, what he believes, and more so the community that he has created for himself. He's always willing to teach, always willing to give back to people, help learn from them. So naturally, you're going to get critics and skeptics. So in this article from the Chantal chick, she was saying that when she was, well, basically taking a step back, John, is that he's always of the opinion that you need to work hard in your 20s, grind in your 30s so you can live this life of freedom.
mm,
And she's critiqued and saying that when she was 27, she was on the verge of burnout and breakdown and chronic stress, working 70 hours a week. But what she doesn't realize here, dude, and if you think about it, is that
mm,
she was working for the man. She was working for a corporate.
mm,
And now she's talking about Gary Vee, comparing that people should work the same amount of hours, but she said they shouldn't because of these things. Yes, the health issues is something that you would have to consider. But if
yeah,
you're passionate about something and following a project which he says you must do, I
mm,
don't think that criticism actually sits with him in that with this
mm.
particular topic. What do you think about that?
Look, we all know how profound media plays in this role of marketing, and he's a marketing dude. So to tackle
Hmm.
skepticism and this kind of thing makes sense because there are going to be left wings and right wings out there always. And if he, to be honest, he doesn't really give a shit. He doesn't even really care about the hater. But the person he's trying to get on board to further enrich them in the future through his communal program, Be Friends, he's going to want to back that up. He's going to want to put something on the table that gives people on the ground some support, because leadership's twofold, dude. Yes, there's virtuous acts that have to always prevail, but then there's also this element of defense that comes from that masculinity nature that need to stand your ground. And I do believe that's what he's doing right now, and I respect him for that.
I think with him, obviously, I think we naturally biased towards maybe not him, but for the things that he stands for when it comes to very hot topics, right? Whether it's NFTs, whether one thing I admire about him, and from what I've heard, how he talks about his staff, about the people that work for him, how people know him to be a leader because he's the CEO of VaynerMedia, is that even obviously creating V Friends, yes, people would argue it's to his own benefit, and the very narrow-minded people would like tend to lean towards that side. But the people that, particularly the people that are understanding of the potential of a DAO or even something as simple as a Discord community where you're bringing
Mm,
together people that have common interests, sharing ideas, trying to build something that is meaningful. And a lot of people would argue what is meaningful, but that's a conversation for a different day.
mm,
But what I really enjoyed just watching from that news interview that he had done. It was on one of these news channels, dude, like the CNN or whatever it was, something of that nature. So obviously they naturally skeptical. These
mm,
news networks are always going to try to prove a point to potentially the older generation or the skeptics, and You know what I mean? Like, media can
mm.
manipulate so many things, and I mean, there's
Yes.
millions and millions of cases of how this is proved to be correct. My
Mm.
point is, like, they were naturally like when they were immediately on it about how the launch effectively failed, as opposed to
Yeah.
actually trying to identify initially what he's actually trying to achieve potentially.
Mm.
I didn't watch the
Mm.
full thing, so I might be wrong in saying that they didn't actually reap him praise, which I would imagine they did. But
Mm.
on this particular topic of failure, right, naturally trying to kick someone whilst they're down, instead of him like blaming the organization which they partnered with or other external things, he's
Mm.
like, no, I made the mistake. I should have done this. It reminded me of that Simon Sinek video of a leader just taking accountability,
Mm.
making sure that whoever's watching knows that he has their back. And it
Yeah.
reminds me of that Simon Sinek video when COVID had just happened, that famous Zoom call that he
Mm.
had with his team, and how they were saying you have to recreate your role within the organization. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to like the organization in which I worked in, where the manager that I had at the time was almost of the opinion that no, you're lucky we kept a lot of the staff here, whatever it was. Such poor leadership, such good leadership, right?
Mm. Mm. Mm.
It just shows me like he has something that he has envisioned for this Web3 that is incredibly appealing to me. And
Yeah.
I really actually am excited to see where he takes us, because I believe a lot of the things he touches turns to success. And yes, you can argue that he has had failures. But I
Mm.
think it's so exciting that someone is willing to put their name on the line for something that is so newfangled. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
impressive.
No, look, that it is impressive. But it just shows you how much he believes in this space, and perhaps even has some hidden information around the manifestation of Bitcoin itself. Because if you look at it deeply, it starts to represent a new form of energy, but in a way that's perpetuated through digital streaming. So what's interesting is, like, perhaps it's been a nuance that has been developed, and people like Gary Vee are members of society that's going to lead these communities of the future, and there's many of them. um, but if you really look at it deeply, a lot of people in crypto in general are whether they're playing the joker or if they're being authentic, they are virtuous, because of the nature that anyone can sell the asset anonymously. Everyone's anonymous. So if you look at Ray Dalio in his hedge fund company, Bridgewater, I think it is, he runs an AI, like you say, measuring system to determine people's, like, to actually quantify people's moods and how they're speaking, all that stuff during meetings and in general. And it's not anonymous. So he thought that to improve company culture, we need to create a consensus with everyone and be completely honest with each individual, despite their hierarchy in the company. And it's really created that's why they're the number one performing hedge fund in the country, in the USA, that is. So that it just shows you how profound that mechanism has found itself
Did you say,
onto.
sorry, Jonathan, did you say hearsay?
Oh, no, that mechanism.
No, I thought you said the word hearsay. It just
Oh, yeah,
reminded me of this
yeah.
whole. Did you say that though?
No. I actually don't use that,
You're
Hearsay.
wrong. The reason why I figured out is
Yeah.
because, like, I'm sure you see on social media this whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard fucking case. She's like, her lawyers, every time like they interject when Johnny Depp is saying something or vice versa, they're
Yes.
like, no, that's hearsay. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Did you
So
just
what does it mean in context though? Like, is it
like
literal?
that's just like, yeah, I heard it from someone else kind of thing, or you heard it from someone else, or
Okay,
you heard it from the
grapevine.
neighbor kind of.
Hearsay.
Yeah, like, a little closer to the grapevine, but you know what I mean. Like,
Ah, I get you. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what I mean.
Makes
Like,
sense.
it's like, yeah. I heard you fell and tripped the other day
Mm.
at night, and you hurt yourself. But meanwhile, you actually follow and you just find to like,
Yeah,
you know
it's
what I mean?
just
Like,
yeah. Makes sense. All right,
I'm sure
that's.
the people that are
I think I
watching
look.
us now are probably like, these guys don't actually know what the hell they're talking about. But it's for
Well,
funny.
look, I'm actually gonna use it,
You know what
so it makes sense.
I mean? Yeah.
Well, anyway, like
Okay,
ultimately
please
the
continue.
crypto, yeah, the crypto space is now like I think predicated on community in an intrinsic way. So taking ownership of mistakes, even if it weren't yours, needs to happen. Just much like the lunar crash. It wasn't Quan's fault, dude. You know what I mean? But he's out there saying, hey guys, I'm gonna rectify this. He has to. Otherwise, oaks are gone. And they're gonna be like, well, you know what, this oak is an asshole. We don't trust this guy.
Yeah.
It's about leadership. And the crypto and Bitcoin and everything as a whole is epitomizing that. It's really putting people on the block. You know, if you want to go out there and create a crypto coin or an NFT company and launch and mint things, you're going to need to go and be willing to put yourself on the block because people aren't going to trust a wallet address. They need to see a face. They need to see something. Who is behind this? And this is where people are coming. It's like a modern day Olympics. It's just the global communities trying to compete for some form of I don't know sovereignty in the future, and that's what it's going to be, dude. The big boys in crypto are going to be the future leaders. It's just how it just because of the how the community is orchestrated in on the blockchain. If that makes sense. So yeah, I think it's quite an interesting thing how Gary Vee's treated it, but I do believe he did it right. Whether or not righteousness is what matters.
Yeah. And I mean, I think talking about leaders and guys that are controversial, I suppose, without fail, you naturally also speak about Elon Musk. And
Mm-hmm.
naturally, again, the skepticism of this billionaire running the social media platform, which we spoke about before. But obviously, now in the last 2 weeks, there's this, specifically in the last 2 weeks, there's been this decline in NFTs, right? Or the demand for them. Or I would say that the sales have plummeted, I think, by like 92%. But this is obviously cyclical, right? Like any other market, it goes through waves and troughs, or peaks and troughs, peaks and troughs.
Mm.
Right now, although it's in a trough, what may be seen out there, crypto included in this conversation, is that we all know the guys that know what they're doing, the serious boys now, are the guys that are buying now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely. And they're just gonna go, ooh.
those guys in the media again will try to do this because even in that article that I read about that chick, she's like saying that Gary Vee is going to ruin a generation of people because he's saying you need to work hard for your first 10 years out of high school to create this career to be successful. He's not fucking wrong.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like you have to work hard. And she's like, no, you can work smarter and harder. Yes, we all know that, but it's easier said than done. Hard
mm,
work, I believe, gets you to the point where you can allow yourself to now, or allow yourself or provide yourself the freedom to actually now work smart as
mm.
opposed to working hard. Because if you're going to tell yourself, I want to work smart, 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 not everyone can do that, dude. That's not possible. Not
Exactly.
everyone is a genius. Not everyone is Elon Musk or Jobs or Zuckerberg, like all these idiots that we all refer to. But I mean, that is stereotypical guys. Like, I'd rather talk about,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yes.
John, your camera's gone up, and I'll continue. But what I was saying is, with this
Can hear
whole
you.
thing that, yeah, no, I'm just saying, with this whole thing that, like, he's changing this whole populace. So do people think the same about Elon Musk? And obviously, by purchasing Twitter, now he has the ability to effectively speak his mind without being actually closed up. And like he had come out, I think this week, and was saying, I think he made a tweet. He was saying like, I don't know, dot dot dot, seems kind of fungible. Kind of, what he had done is he had a collage a collage of the board apes as his NFT. I mean, as his profile picture on
Yes,
on
yes.
Twitter. And obviously, like I think. Elon Musk being the Elon Musk that I understand him to be, is he's playing a lot of mind games, which he's always done. So, like, I think people just see NFTs right now and the failure of NFTs, or this collapse of what they assume it is. The media assumes the everyday person that doesn't know anything about NFTs that will call an NFT just, oh, it's just a JPEG file, it's just a picture. Those kind of people will all be happy and rejoicing. But I think like Elon Musk is in this kind of thing is kind of taking the piss because he knows, like we spoke about in last week's episode, is that yes, people are putting money into NFTs, but not these board ape guys and all these big communities. They're building communities of really wealthy people and significant cool people. And the value of the NFT is not the NFT itself; it's this community in which we have unique and exclusive access to. And I think Elon Musk maybe knows that and he's taking the piss, or he maybe truly believes this. But I do obviously now think that you're going to have this individual Elon Musk on one side and the individual on the other side with Gary Vee with conflicting opinions potentially. How cool would that be to see a conversation between those two on this topic, dude? Imagine you can facilitate something like that.
That would be very interesting. That would be very interesting. Yeah, it could be controversial and it would be difficult to execute, like get done. It's possible and interesting. Something I actually wanted to chat on was this idea of arbitrage, because that's ultimately what Gary Vee's main, should I say, expertise is in his business endeavors, is arbitrage. And if you look at it, that's essentially what a non-fungible token is your ability to arbitrage. So arbitrage is just collectibles is just a facet of arbitrage. It's a quite a prevalent thing. Everything's arbitrage. So buying a Mac is, because I can sell the Mac again. So for that Mac to be an NFT makes sense. So there's never gonna be a decline in the NFT market ever. There might be in the collectibles, which is the JPEGs, but that's just because how big is that industry? Like theoretically, if you were to go and look at the baseball cards and just all that Supermans and comics,
That's such a good
yeah,
point, dude.
it's just
Everyone
that,
that
dude.
everyone's buying and everyone's
Yeah,
buying art assets because
mm,
they know they can sell it on. I get it,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
think you made a very good point, which will speak to sustainability of these art kind of NFTs. Because
yeah,
NFTs can be fan tokens. You can be buying into a sporting team, into an individual, into an artist. You can be buying albums. So the
yes,
idea of NFTs is inevitably going to change, and that will start gaining traction again. But people
yeah,
are just seeing the natural art, these artworks, these 3Ds, these 2Ds, what people can post on Sports Finder was the initial thing, and they will always hold their value. But the value for NFTs is going to far exceed just the current art assets now. It's
yes,
going to allow you to
definitely,
get fan
definitely,
tokens,
definitely. That's
ability
what
to
Elon Musk
enter.
knows.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying is, like we spoke about before with
Mm,
Twitter, how they're going to integrate that with NFTs. I can tell you now, he will inevitably follow that path
mm,
because I believe Elon Musk probably does truly believe that about the board apes and stuff, but he sees
yeah,
the value beyond what everyone else sees. He knows this is going to be something bigger than what it is,
definitely.
and the true value is the blockchain and the technology stack behind
Mm,
it. And what
mm,
you can do with these non-fungible assets is going to be out of this world, I believe, dude. The ability that you're
guaranteed.
going to have with it, you're going to have an NFT which can give you access to any airport lounge, for example, or
Yeah,
fly miles. Everything's just going
yeah,
to go into something that's non-fungible because eventually there's that sell-on value. And
yes.
then you start now extracting more value than you would if you didn't have this non-fungible token.
Definitely. And if you look at, if you were to compare the, 'cause I don't know how true this is, but I heard this from an accountant. He said that the deal is mandated on the fact with the Elon Musk deal with Twitter is if they can figure out how to nullify the bots or the spam accounts. So I don't know how
Hmm.
true that is. So this deal can still be revoked in the future were that to not be the case. But
Did
if you
you
look at
see what percentage? Sorry, John. Did you see what
yeah,
percentage
decline,
that us? No, no. What I'm saying is, when I read something today, I read in a few things, a few articles, reputable ones. They were effectively saying, or that Elon Musk supposedly or allegedly came out and said that he believes that 90% of Twitter users are bots.
yes,
90. And almost alluding to that half of his following are bots, if not
mm,
more, right?
yes.
Mad, dude. And
So
Twitter,
this,
before this became a private company, was saying it was only 5%.
so now
My
what
man, that opens up a whole different can of worms,
it
dude.
does, it does, and this is why putting the users onto the blockchain and creating NFTs will allow the computational model to be able to pick up the spam accounts. The blockchain will be able to compute that if people are incrementally posting certain things, and it'll be easier to execute that model. But unfortunately, it's not on there, and perhaps they're trying to see how they bridge people over onto that space. And by that very nature, the people that make that move are usually not bots, if that makes sense. It'll be
Mhm.
a self-authenticated process that you need a wallet. So for you to actually, this is just a theory, dude. Like, oh, not even, it's just an idea that they may or may not do. But migrate the Twitter user onto the blockchain, and that is now an authenticated person, let's say, because you can't go and create various wallets and then go and add it's just not going to happen. So I think that's
Yeah,
a way
because
to solve that. It's just bad. I don't know how they're going to do that. That's perhaps what they're working on. I'm trying to see how they can compute spam accounts on Web2. Who knows? But nonetheless, I do see the average user in social media being participating through their wallet. That's definitely going to happen. But yeah,
yeah, I think a lot.
back to the thing with the arbitrage. Now, for instance, like this is where the I try to link it with Twitter, was with the spam accounts. Like for instance, companies would like to know that their products or things come to an end. For instance, there's a lifeline. So if this cell phone were to be an NFT, you'll eventually know when it dies or breaks. Let's put it that way. So there, that timeline of that phone now ends on the blockchain and can get eradicated. So to store data through NFTs is going to be the future, because you like find my iPhone will be so much more easier if it was linked as an NFT. You know, you could literally just turn off the phone as your own user. Don't even need to rely on Vodacom or AT&T or whatever. That makes sense.
I love that you thought of the American one at least. I'm impressed. At least you knew it.
And Verizon.
No, it's just so crazy talking about those guys, dude. Which I still find it so funny. Obviously, coming from South Africa, where advertising, it's only really killing a brand or a specific person, typically if it's a political individual, political party, or something that's gone on where the whole country finds out about it. And you'll get Nando's maybe thrown in a cheeky advert like that's more relevant to what's currently happening that day.
Yes,
But you
yes,
very rarely get brands talking about other brands because I don't think you can. There's obviously that law in South Africa that prohibits
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
And in the US, it's allowed, dude. So like when you see AT&T and Verizon, they're like, yeah, Verizon has this many more towers than AT&T across the United States, and like they
Yes,
mention AT&T, right? And
yes.
I'm just like, for me, it's
Mm,
such a weak mentality, man.
mm,
Because
mm.
why I say that is it's like, and I'm going to go take a step back, then I'll take two steps forward. And
Yes, yes,
it kind of builds up to what I'm trying to say is that I remember when the national government elections were happening in South Africa. And for the people that are watching that don't know, is that there's two main political parties. It's the ANC, which was Nelson Mandela's party that he had been president for after his imprisonment, and then when an apartheid had finished, and there's the DA, the Democratic Alliance, and these two parties typically go head to head. And I remember when I was living in Cape Town, and up until the elections, they had posters and sideboards outside on the roads, and the one DA board was saying, like, "Don't vote for the ANC." Why would you use your own board to communicate that message, right? Like trying to ridicule the ANC in a way. I don't think it was that message. There was something along
Yeah.
those lines, like
Yes.
um, don't vote for the corrupt ANC kind of stuff. Like, I mean, what it shows me is that you don't, first of all, have the ability to back yourself. You're trying to find
Exactly.
nicks in their armor.
Yes.
And a lot of people that are watching this will also know that something similar kind of happened on a lot more serious scale with the Russians, I mean, with the Trump and Biden presidential elections, but we won't get into that. But my point is, my point is that I, I still find it so interesting that the way that people perceive these kind of things is so completely distorted, man. So distorted.
It's always like that, dude. And it's because of these campaigns, these marketing agencies and companies that prime individuals to think a certain way, to belittle the competitor is, I think, like you mentioned, a pretty shitty strategy. Like, why not uplift them? Say, hey, vote for ANC because we are doing our thing. You know, imagine how that would turn out.
This thing is that, speaking about NFTs, is that I've seen this probably far less than any other movement where NFT, so guys are just trying to collaborate. And I haven't seen much of, like, which is probably is happening in the actual groups and the discourse that these guys are doing this. But I'm saying, like, on face value, I don't really see it. And maybe I'm mistaken. But I do think it's a weak form of a strategy for an organization to try generate and build a customer base.
Yes.
So, having said that, Jono, we've come to the end for the episode. I want to thank you again. Any closing remarks for the audience?
Do your own research.
Do your own research. Yeah, that's actually a very good one. Eh? That's actually very funny. Yeah, I suppose living in the United States, you can easily be just sued for that kind of stuff. But yeah, everyone, thanks again. Please like, share, and subscribe. Another great episode under the belt. Please look out for next week's episode, and we carry on. Take care. Sweet Jono.
Love. Ciao.